the death of Ahmaud Arbery. So we are watching William Roddy Bryant and everyone else inside the courtroom standing as either the judge or the jury has come in. So let's try to listen in here, see if there's anything we can hear to this live feed from the Glen County courtroom.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Madam Foreperson, I understand you have reached a verdict as to each defendant. Please hand your verdict forms to the sheriff. I'm going to go ahead and address each one of these verdict forms separately. First verdict form I have is the state of Georgia versus Travis McMichael. Mr. McMichael, please stand. Verdict is as follows. In the Superior Court of Glen County, state of Georgia, the state of Georgia versus Travis McMichael, case number CR 000433. Jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. I'm going to ask that whoever just made an outburst be removed from the court, please. As this court has indicated, I ask that there be no outbursts in the court, and I expect as much from the gallery. Please respect the court's desire for this as we move forward. If you feel like you need to make a comment or otherwise demonstrate with respect to the verdict, I do ask that you step out of the courtroom now. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Dated this 24th day of November, 2021, signed by the foreperson. Have a seat. As to Gregory Mcmichael. In the Superior Court of Glen County, state of Georgia versus Greg Mcmichael, case number CR 200433. Jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg Mcmichael, not guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg Mcmichael, guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg Mcmichael, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg Mcmichael, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg Mcmichael, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg Mcmichael, guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg Mcmichael, guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg Mcmichael, guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg Mcmichael, guilty. This 24th day of November, 2021, signed by the foreperson. As to William R. Bryant. In the Superior Court of Glen County, State of Georgia versus William R. Bryant, case number CR 2000433, jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryant, not guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryant, not guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryant, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryant, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryant, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryant, not guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryant, guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryant, guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryant, guilty. Signed this 24th day of November by the foreperson. Go ahead, MC. Court having read the verdicts and accepted the verdicts, anything from the state?
No, Your Honor, nothing from the state.
Anything from the defense?
We ask the jury be polled, Your Honor.
All defendants ask the jury be polled. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask each of you individually a set of 2 questions with respect to the verdicts that I have just read. If you could please respond when you hear your juror number. Juror number 1, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, sir.
Juror number 2, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now? I can't. Okay, 2. Juror number 3, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes.
Juror number 4, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, sir.
Juror number 5, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 7, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 8, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 9, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 10, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 11, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 12, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
And juror 16, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, sir.
The jury has been polled. Anything further from the defense?
There you go.
From Greg Mcmichael.
There you go.
From Mr. Bryant.
There you go.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, what that means with the court having accepted your verdict is that your role in this case is now at an end. What we're going to do today is I'm going to have all of you, the panel and the three alternates, go ahead and retire into the jury room. I'm going to address a couple matters logistically with you in the jury room once we get done here. But before we do that, and before I excuse you, I do want to thank you publicly for your service here in Glen County. It has been a long trial. And I appreciate the fact that you have been attentive, you've listened to the evidence, and that is what we ask in this court. It's a very simple ask in a very complex way, so it's appreciated. When we all got together, I said we all got together, when we got together at different times, I said that I was going to thank you a number of times and how I was going to tell you I do truly appreciate your time here. Hopefully you understand why I said that when we started. I do also hope that you got a little bit of an insight into what goes on in a trial and maybe understand a little bit more of how important it is for members of our community to come down and be part of this process and serve as jurors in this community. So again, thank you for that service. And I'll come address y'all in just a moment. You're excused.
All right, the jury.
Rating the jury of 12, finding 3 men guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery This comes months after the 3 were indicted back in June 2020 on 9 criminal counts, including felony murder, aggravated assault, and false imprisonment. So all 3 defendants, we have Gregory and Travis McMichael and William Roddy Bryant, all found guilty of murder. The only one found guilty of malice murder was Travis McMichael. He is the one seen on that cell phone video shooting Ahmaud Arbery with his rifle. All 3 men last year chasing him down that road in Satilla Shores with their 2 pickup trucks, cornering him. What they said at the time was they believed he was a burglar in the area that had come to the neighborhood several times. But in that moment where Travis McMichael pulled the trigger, that is what the jury had found, that he is guilty of malice murder. I want to read through some of the charges here, all of them. In fact, there are 9 counts that the jury had to consider, again, deliberating for about 11 hours here. So bear with me here. So for Travis McMichael on all 9 counts, guilty on all 9 counts, we have malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, criminal attempt to commit a felon, false imprisonment. And then we're going to move on to Gregory McMichael here. All right, so we have the list of charges here for you. This is Travis McMichael, the son of Gregory McMichael, who pulled the trigger and killed Ahmaud Arbery last February in Satilla Shores, guilty on all counts. Gregory McMichael, his father, who joined in the chase after Ahmaud Arbery and was there in the bed of the pickup truck with his own gun in hand, also found guilty. But the only one he was not found guilty on was for malice murder. So guilty on all 9 counts. When we have that graphic, I would love for you guys to pull it up. The third defendant, William Roddy Bryant, he is the neighbor who joined in the search. He's the one who shot that cell phone video as we saw Ahmaud Arbery running down the street in Satilla Shores. He has been found guilty on 6 of the 9 counts. The not guilty counts was for malice murder, second count, felony murder, and the 6th count, which is aggravated assault, the 7th count, found guilty. So again, 6 out of 9 of the counts, William Roddy Bryant, the neighbor who shot that cell phone video, has been found guilty of. We're still waiting to learn when sentencing will happen. We understand the judge will hand down the sentence at some point. Right now, we are waiting for the family to gather outside of the courthouse and give us a statement. One of our reporters inside the courtroom said that she saw the family holding hands when the verdict was being read. We want to turn now to former prosecutor Brett Williams to join us in right now to kind of help us figure out all of these charges here, because there's some repetition here. Brett, are you there? All right, it does not look like that we have Brett Williams. We're waiting for him to join the line here to get some legal analysis to help us figure out, why Travis McMichael was found guilty out of all of the 3 defendants of malice murder, and the other ones were not. But again, Gregory Mcmichael found guilty on 8 of the 9 counts. William Roddy Bryant found guilty on 6 of the 9 counts. All of these 3 men are also facing federal hate crime and attempted kidnapping charges. That is a separate case that we will hear next year. A number of family members in the courtroom today. We understand Ahmaud Arbery's mother is there, Wanda Cooper Jones, his father, Marcus Arbery. We saw the Reverend Al Sharpton arrive to the courtroom this morning, doing a prayer with the friends and family outside the courthouse. Also, Lee Merritt, who represents the mom, Ahmaud Arbery's mom, she is there as well. This jury has been hearing this evidence over a few weeks now. Jury selection took over a week for that to happen. 11 white people, 1 black person weighing in for roughly 11 hours here, the day before Thanksgiving, with these guilty verdicts. A lot of tension, a lot of anxiety over this case. This has been a racially charged case at the time and through the last year and a half. Many people liken it to a modern-day lynching. Watching Ahmaud Arbery run down the street there, being chased with guns and with pickup trucks. We are waiting again for former prosecutor Brett Williams to join us. I've just learned that he is just a few seconds from joining us. Brett, are you there?
Good afternoon.
To today's verdict, Brett.
Yes. Well, it is a pretty momentous moment to finally get a verdict in this case. And a lot of what we've heard is not unexpected in convictions. And of course, there are distinctions between the defendants, but ultimately they may, from the standpoint of the sentence, be distinctions without a difference.
Were you surprised that only Travis McMichael was found guilty of malice murder?
I was not surprised. I think it could have gone either way, but it seems the jury made a distinction between the person that pulled the trigger versus the other persons that were involved in the murder. But I do refer back to this notion of a distinction without a difference. But there is a difference, obviously, between malice murder and felony murder, but they are both murder.
Can you explain the difference for folks who are not so versed in the law here? Because, you know, with every legal case, we learned a little bit more about how the law works. What essentially is the difference between malice murder and felony murder?
The difference, and I put it this way, with respect to malice murder, you need malice of forethought. And that can happen pretty quickly, and an intent to murder someone. Felony murder is different. It's the commission of a murder that occurs while you are committing that felony. So in this case, let's say you are committing a felony of false imprisonment, and the person who you falsely imprisoned is killed. That's felony murder. So it's the difference being when you set out to murder a person, the other situation, you set out to commit some other felony, and a person died in the course of that crime.
Right. I want to take a look at Gregory Mcmichael, the father here, who joined his son Travis McMichael last February in chasing down Arbery through that Satilla Shores neighborhood. If we could pull that up here, he was found guilty of 8 of the 9 counts. And we have all of them listed here. I'm hoping we can get to it because I just told him at ear that we have it, but not guilty on malice murder, felony murder, all felony murder from aggravated assault to false imprisonment, criminal attempt to commit a felon. But when you look at William Roddy Bryant, you have a not guilty on count 2, which is felony murder, but a guilty on count 3 felony murder. What is the distinction there?
And my understanding is that the distinction may have turned on the fact, and I think there was some testimony that William Bryant was unclear or didn't know that the other 2 individuals had weapons. And so what's being said is that the assault, the aggravated assault with the weapon, he's not guilty of because he didn't know that felony was going to be occurring because he didn't know that there was going to be an aggravated assault with a weapon because he didn't know a weapon was on the scene or had been brought.
How do you think the defense did with trying this case here, with defending their clients here?
Well, I think the defense ultimately skirted the line between putting Ahmaud Arbery on trial, which can be a defense strategy, and vilifying a victim. And there is a distinction. One, the first you may want to do, put the victim on trial, not the defendant.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be careful that you don't go too far and that it starts to appear what some may believe it is, that you're just vilifying a dead man.
Do you think that turned the jury off?
I can't speak to what was in the mind of this particular jury, but that typically turns off practically any jury that is not itself corrupt. And I don't think any jury I've ever been in front of is corrupt. I don't think this jury was corrupt. So I could see that if someone thought they went too far, it would turn them off and not change the jury's approach about assessing the case and the offenses and whether or not the people are guilty, but tuning out whatever the lawyers have to say because you don't trust anything coming out of their mouth anymore.
Brett, I believe we are looking at live video from outside the courthouse right now. Is this live video, guys? All right, this is a live look outside the Glen County Courthouse in Brunswick, Georgia, as we have supporters, friends, family gathering outside. We just saw someone leave the courthouse with their fists pumped in the air. Everyone is waiting for the family and for the attorneys to come out to give some sort of reaction here. We did hear after the first count was read for Travis McMichael being found guilty of malice murder, someone in the courtroom shouted, woo, and was just very excited, and the judge asked for that person to be removed from the courtroom. We're not sure who that was, but definitely a sign of excitement and relief over this case that has gone on for more than a year now. Brett, you are a former prosecutor. How do you think the state did in presenting this case?
I think the state did a much better than average job. I think the state did a good job. I had to rate it 1 to 10. I'd say 7.5 to 8. I think, and of course, that's just my own personal kind of shorthand. I think the state did a very good job, and I think the state did a good job of keeping the case and the jurors focused on what are the issues. There's a lot going on around this case, but ultimately the issue had to do with whether or not one man was murdered or killed. Whether he was murdered and folks should be held accountable for that, or whether he was killed and that there was some legitimate, valid justification for that young man losing his life. And I don't want to even use the term losing his life. He didn't lose it, having his life taken.
Well, he was murdered.
So
we can now say he was murdered based on the conviction today.
Say that again, sorry.
We can now say he was murdered based on the conviction today that was just handed down by the jury.
Absolutely. The jury has spoken, and the jury has listened to all the evidence and made a conclusion and has concluded that he was murdered and convicted the persons that were the perpetrators of that murder. That was their question, and that's what they resolved. And the case has been resolved in that respect. There's a jury verdict of murder.
The argument by lead prosecutor Linda Dumikowski, you can't chase a man down and claim it's self-defense. That stood out for me through the closing arguments. What stood out for you that you think sealed the deal here for the jury to come back and find all 3 men guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery?
Well, I think that what you just said is probably the most powerful thing of all. Self-defense practically defines itself. You're defending yourself. We all saw the video. That was not defense of self. That was aggressive, offensive behavior on the part of the three men. So I thought initially they had a steep hill to climb, both in claiming the citizen's arrest and then secondarily self-defense. There was an effort, and maybe it's all they had, to claim, well, I was defending myself against the attack that ensued after I pulled a gun on the victim. But you start to get into a situation of wordplay when you suggest something of that nature.
What are the penalties that these men are looking at, Brett?
They're looking at life. So, and they have to serve 30 years before there is a consideration of whether or not they should be released. So we're talking about a long time, and probably we're talking about a lifetime for some of these individuals, given their age.
Yeah. Death penalty is not on the table in this case, correct?
That is correct. My understanding is that the death penalty was not pursued by the prosecutor in this case, or by the state.
So what happens next year? We have, how soon do you think we'll see sentencing here?
That will be up to the judge, but it may be probably a very quick sentencing, in the sense that there's been a lot of discussion about this case that's gone on for quite a bit of time. We know quite a bit about this case. So I don't think that there is the necessity for a drawn out time period before the sentencing. I suspect that that's been thought about to some extent, and it'll be up to the judge, but I expect you will see sentencing fairly quickly.
I can't imagine what Ahmad's mom and father are feeling right now. I'm sure just an overwhelming rush of emotions. And
well, I can think of two words and they don't do justice to the circumstances, and I can only vicariously feel what they are probably feeling, because I've never been in a situation. But two words are relief and vindication.
yeah. So this is not over yet. We have sentencing, and we also have the federal hate crime and attempted kidnapping charges. That is a separate case. What do you know about that? What do you know about that case, and what we can look forward to that one?
I don't know a lot about that case because it has not gotten the level of attention this one has, at least in terms of my access to information. But I expect that while that might be more difficult in the sense that you start talking about issues of race, which in this country can be a difficult thing to talk about and put our arms around, this conviction of all three men in this case sets a backdrop for the pursuit of that case that I think is pretty powerful and almost makes that case not an afterthought, but this was a baby.
Yeah, a huge one. All right, Brett Williams, former prosecutor, thank you for joining us. I want to move over to Hope Ford right now. She's live outside the Glen County Courthouse in Brunswick with much more on this guilty verdict for all three men accused, no longer accused, convicted, found guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. Hope?
Yeah, so we're outside the courthouse right now. You can kind of see that we're kind of waiting right now to see if the family is going to come out, if the defense attorneys are going to come out. So we're kind of just waiting right now. This is why you might be kind of looking at just some microphones right now. But you're probably hearing a lot of cheering going on. There's a large group of people who have, a lot of them been here since day one. Some people who traveled in just for the verdict. We have Gerald Griggs, actually who's up there, is an Atlanta attorney, and several Atlanta people are actually also out here right now. But there's a lot of people who started cheering so loudly when that very first guilty verdict for Travis McMichael came through. We were actually sitting in cars across the street from the courthouse, and those screams were so loud you could actually hear the crowd cheering from across the street. So there's a lot of people who are happy with the verdict, who believe that justice has been served, and who are chanting. And everyone's kind of gathered around and kind of really at the front of the courthouse right now. Not just the tons of cameras that are out here, but also all of the people waiting really to hear from the Arbery family and to hear from anybody else that might come out here and talk today.
Hope, can you hear me? Hope, are you still there?
I can't hear you.
Okay, all right. What are they screaming in the background there? It's really
Yes, I'm
hard to
still there.
make
Can you
out
hear
what
me?
they're saying.
So they're going back and forth from chanting Ahmaud Arbery's name and just chanting justice, chanting Black Lives Matter. So they're chanting a lot of different things, waving flags in the air. See Black Lives Matter flags. I see what looks like an American flag with a fist raised in the air on it as well. So trying to listen right here. Yeah, so right now they're just chanting, what do we want justice and when do we want it now? So they just have been really, again, since the first guilty verdict came down, folks out here just cheering and continuing to chant and continuing to wait. We have a lot of pastors out here, they still have a lot of children who are out here as well with their parents who are kind of walking around. Some of them are actually wearing shirts with Ahmaud Arbery's name on them. Again, returning to chanting Ahmaud Arbery right there.
Hope, can you bring us inside the courtroom when this verdict was read, the reaction from Ahmaud Arbery's mother and father?
Yeah, so right as the very first verdict was the one for Travis McMichael, that guilty verdict for malice and murder, there was someone in the courtroom who actually had an outburst. It was audible enough to where you could actually hear it. And at the time, Greg McMichael's wife, Travis McMichael's mom, Lee, she was actually holding her hands pretty tightly. Marcus Arbery stood up and Marcus Arbery, who is Ahmaud Arbery's father, he stood up and he cheered and he said it was a long time coming. And one of the family's attorneys, Ben Crump, tried to calm him down, but the judge stopped the proceedings at that point. And if you were watching this live, you probably heard the judge ask the person who had the outburst to leave, and that was Marcus Arbery. So security did tell he had to leave at that point in time after he stood up and yelled. And Arbery's mom, Awanda Cooper Jones, as soon as that first guilty verdict came through, she just started crying uncontrollably. She's cried at several points throughout this entire trial. She cried, whenever she saw all of those videos that she had tried to avoid seeing this entire time. And of course, sitting in that courtroom, she had to watch all of those videos, including very obviously graphic videos showing her son's body. So many times that she broke out in tears of sadness. And it looked at that point in time, whenever she was crying, that she was crying with a little bit of satisfaction there as that first guilty verdict was read out at that point in time. So his father had to exit the courtroom for making an outburst, and then Jones just crying. She was rocking back and forth. She was shaking the hands of Reverend Al Sharpton and Lee Merritt, who were both here with her. They were, really tightly grasping her hands. Travis McMichael's mom and Greg McMichael's wife, she kind of remained kind of silent throughout the whole time, kind of looking straight ahead as they read all of those verdicts out, kind of a little bit motionless. She was looking at her husband, Greg, and he did turn to look at her at one point in time. They didn't say anything to each other or mouth any words or anything like that, as far as whenever they did look at each other. When the verdicts continued to be read as it got through Travis McMichael, as it got through Greg McMichael, you could just kind of see the supporters of the McMichaels and the Bryants. They were wiping tears from their eyes. They were trying to comfort each other at that point in time. And again, even inside the courtroom, I told you how loud these supporters were outside. You can still hear all those supporters inside the courtroom as they were cheering when all of the verdicts were read out today.
An emotional day, Hope, that's for sure. Any word from the judge as to when the sentencing will happen?
He did talk at the end once he excused the jury. He told all of the attorneys in the room that they were going to work together to see what they can do as far as scheduling. He did say it could be a couple of weeks before they're able to get that sentencing hearing scheduled and then get them back in there, everyone back in there for that. Of course, tomorrow being Thanksgiving, may not know a better timeline until maybe later on this afternoon, but probably Friday will be the better idea of when we will know for sure what they're looking like as far as having that sentencing hearing.
Hope, it took this jury roughly 11 hours to come to this verdict. Can you tell us what you observed from the jury? It seemed like there were a lot of note takers in the group.
There were a lot of people who were taking notes. I was not physically in the courthouse. We were kind of relying on some of our pool reporters who were in the courthouse, kind of relaying a lot of details to us. But they were taking notes. Really, whenever things got complicated, I mean, you have three defendants here, and then of course you have the state presenting their arguments. So they were really taking a lot of notes whenever things kind of started to get a little bit convoluted, over not so much around things that they could actually see as far as videos or anything like that, but when it came to a lot of those explanations that both sides were trying to give, that's when a lot of those notes came out. During the closing arguments, a lot of notes taking then as well. And then as the judge read off the list of charges and the instructions yesterday, there's a lot of furious note taking there as well, because they had a huge task ahead of them. And then of course, when you got down to Roddy Bryant, there was a possibility that he they would not consider that one of those aggravated assault charges, and that they would consider 3 lesser charges. So there was a lot going on yesterday that they were trying to kind of write down and kind of wrap their minds around, having to go back and sort through weeks of evidence and 27 charges. So they were sharp in there as they listened and then went back to work on their conclusion.
More and more difficult to hear you out there, Hope, but we appreciate you giving your insight as to what happened this morning when the jury found all 3 men guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. That verdict being handed down around 1:36 this afternoon. All of the attorneys, I know there's a lot going on there, Hope. Have any of the attorneys mentioned anything about an intent to file an appeal? We heard numerous times throughout the trial requests for a mistrial. Any word from the attorneys yet as to whether they plan to appeal this verdict?
We haven't heard any word that they are going to or file any types of appeal. We did have a chance to talk to Roddy Bryant's attorney yesterday, and we asked him, okay, what are you going to do in the event that the jury finds your client guilty? What are you thinking about an appeal? And at the time, he kind of brushed an appeal off, and he said, you know what, we're not even worried about an appeal. We're going to win, and Roddy Bryant's going to walk out of that courthouse. So when we did get the chance to talk to one of the attorneys, he did just kind of throw the chance of an appeal away. Of course, that was really early on in the deliberation process. That was probably maybe 2 hours after the jury started deliberating, whenever his attorney kind of brushed off the idea of an appeal. So they may be working on that strategy right now to see what they're going to do. Roddy Bryant's attorney asked for a motion to sever during closing arguments instead of at the beginning of the trial. That motion to sever being, of course, to separate his client from the rest of the clients as far as any charges or a trial. So he actually waited till the end, till closing arguments, for that motion to sever. So it is highly possible that might be something that he wants, because he has specifically said from the beginning that he did not believe that his client should be with the other 2. And as well, there was a point in time when the jury went back into the courtroom today prior to the verdict. They wanted to watch some evidence. They wanted to watch the video that Bryant had taken of Ahmaud Arbery being killed. They wanted to watch the original video. They also wanted to watch it slow down. And then they wanted to hear Greg Mcmichael's phone call. Roddy Bryant objected to that because he did not want the jurors to watch that and then be considering his client at the time when they're watching those videos, and also listening to Greg Mcmichael's 911 call. So he in particular has been very adamant that he did not want his client tried or really associated with the Mcmichaels in any way.
Yeah, even on one of the counts, Hope, and we have been talking about this yesterday, the count 7 for Roddy Bryant, all the other charges, that they could find him guilty of reckless conduct, reckless driving, simple assault. And at the end of the day, he was found guilty. That was one of the counts he was found guilty of, William Roddy Bryant, 6 out of the nine counts. Already, I'm looking at Twitter here, Hope. People are already saying, thank goodness for that cell phone video. Had it not been released, we wouldn't be here today.
Exactly, and that again is something that Roddy Bryant's attorney said several times. He said that during his closing arguments. He said that was pretty much at the beginning of his closing arguments, that we would not be here. There would be no trial had it not been for that video. Of course, a lot of people have said that on social media, and as you know, people protested in Brunswick before anybody in the world even really knew about a video. People were protesting in Brunswick over the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. So when that video came out, it kind of, catapulted everything and ended in what we're seeing here today. And several people had tweeted me saying, justice was served, and also again going back to that video and saying, thank God there was video. And it's ironic that the person that took the video, of course, is now among one of the people that is convicted and found guilty of the death of Ahmaud Arbery.
Hope, you're outside the courthouse in Glen County there in Brunswick. We're seeing a lot of activity, people chanting no justice, no peace. Can you give us more of a scene setter as well while you're out there?
Yeah, so we have let me walk up here for a little bit and see. I'm kind of a little bit farther back from my camera person because there's a lot of media up here, as you can probably imagine, so that I can get a closer look at what you might be seeing right now. So I think, Mike, you have your headphones in right there. If you can just pan a little bit to where some folks are coming out here right now. Maybe I'm gonna just listen in for just a second. It looks like the family might be getting ready to come out, but there's a lot of supporters on the steps right now. A lot of people that I'm recognizing from protests and from activism that happened over the summer last year with the protest. And it looks like there might be some family coming out here right now. Trying to get a little bit of a better look up there. I'm a little bit farther behind. And there you have it. You have Reverend Al Sharpton, Lee Merritt, you have Wanda Cooper-Jones, Ben Crump, you have Marcus Arbery. They're all walking out here, as you just saw, holding hands. Of course, people are cheering right now. They seem happy. People seem happy to see them. They may be making their way over to that podium here in just a second to speak to everyone that's been out here waiting for them to come out.
Let us say, first and foremost, we're going to start by thanking God for shining on us. Let us thank these lawyers. Amen. Let us thank the prosecutors. Amen. Let us thank the activists that y'all called the mob that marched and stood up. Let us thank all of the people that believed. And let us, more than anything, thank the mother and father of Ahmaud. They lost a son. That's right. But their son will go down in history as one that proved that if you hold on, that justice can come. This mother would tell me, Reverend, we're going to win this. When I had doubts, she kept praying. This father said, we got to get some justice for my son. And let the word go forth all over the world that a jury of 11 whites and 1 black in the deep South stood up in the courtroom and said that black lives do matter. Let it be clear that almost 10 years after Trayvon, God used Wanda and Marcus's son to prove that if we kept marching and kept fighting, we would make you hear us. We got a lot more battles to fight, but this was an important battle today. This was proving that our children know their value And that's why those people that march, I'm talking about the people here that was here when nobody else was here. They stood up. Come on. Brunswick. Real talk. Brunswick, Georgia will go down in history as the place that criminal justice took a different turn. Let us pray. Dear God, we come thanking you for your mercy, thanking you for giving us a prosecutor's team that when it looked to us like the stacks, they'd stack the jury, that you still found a way to open up the minds of people to listen to the evidence and weigh it based on facts, not based on skin color. That you gave strength to this mother and you gave strength to this father to not give up on you, even when many of us doubted, even when many of us said it's not going to happen. You came in the state of Georgia, a state known for segregation, a state known for Jim Crow, and you turned it around. You took a young unarmed boy that they thought was worthless, and you put his name in history today. Years from now, decades from now, they'll be talking about a boy named Ahmaud Arbery that taught this country what justice looks like. As we go forth, let us go forth in the victory you've given us. Thank everyone in Brunswick that marched, that stood out in front of this courthouse, that was called a lynch mob, but they kept on marching. And let us know that all whites are not racist, and all blacks are not worthless, that we're all your children, and we will give you the grace and give you the glory. The glory be yours, not ours. Let us not be proud, and let us not be vengeful. But let us be thankful that you brought us closer together today. These blessings we ask in your name and your sake. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. We never had a Thanksgiving day like today. We will hear from the attorneys and the parents. Let us hear from the attorney for Wanda, who is running for the Texas Attorney General. He asked me not to say it, but I'm going to say it because we need attorney generals like this. Lee Merritt, followed by the Attorney General of Black America, who flew in and out even as he handled other cases. These lawyers kept going to the wall and stood up. We walked out of court buildings with tears in our eyes. We cried inside, but they were tears of joy because people like Thurgood Marshall and others broke down barriers to produce a Ben Crump and a Lee Merritt. Lee Merritt.
All right. You all don't want to hear from me of Ahmaud Arbery, as we all do. We wrap our arms around them. The only reason that I'm speaking is to provide an introduction for a praying mother. You all have known her now for the last 18 months. 18 months ago, when she learned about the murder of her son, they told her that she would just have to deal with it alone. They told her that there will be no arrest, that there will be no accountability, that there will be no justice. And she made her son a promise before she laid him in the ground that his mom, would fight for justice for him. In order to do that, Glen County had to change.
That's right.
She couldn't find justice in the Glen County that she found in the year 2000.
That's right.
On February 23rd, there was a prosecutor standing in her way, Jackie Johnson. Wanda Cooper prayed her out of the way, out of office, and she's facing criminal charges herself.
That's right.
When she came to Glen, when she was looking for justice in Glen County, she was faced with a corrupt legal system, one that never fully investigated her son's murder, as we learned during the course of this trial. Wanda performed her own investigation. Wanda hired her own attorneys, and she woke up a nation. Can you all join me in just giving a round of applause for this fighting, faithful, praying mother? I'm gonna let Wanda come forward. Come on.
I just want to say thank you guys. Thank you. Thank each and every one of you who fought this fight with us. It's been a long fight. It's been a hard fight, but God is good.
Yes, He is.
Early in, to tell you the truth, I never saw this day back in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought this day would come, but God is good.
Yes, He is.
And I just want to tell everybody, thank you for those who marched, those who prayed, most of all the ones who prayed.
Yes, Lord.
Thank you guys.
Yes, Lord.
Thank you. And now Quez, which you know him as Ahmad, I know him as Quez.
Yes.
He will now rest in peace.
Yes, Lord.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on.
Let me find a way to step out of there.
You all heard the gut wrenching grunt
Oh my goodness.
that came out of Marcus Aubrey when they pronounced Travis McMichael guilty. He could not contain it any further because think about how long he and Wanda have been enduring all the innuendo, all the allegations, all the character assassinations, long legs with dirty toenails. Just imagine all they went through. That when he heard that, Reverend Al, he could not contain himself because Marcus, as a father, they see their job as to protect their children.
That's right. That's right.
And
That's right.
you can experience the pain of a mother and a father who witnessed what they witnessed, not being there to protect their child.
Right.
Every parent in America can take solace in knowing that we have an example of how to deal with tragedy and grief when they look at the example of Marcus Aubrey and Wanda Cooper, and we should applaud them. They should be applauded. And I tell you all, we together did this. We all together, black, white, activists, faith members, lawyers, prosecutors. We did this together. We said, America, we will make us better than what we saw in that video. That's right. That's right. And I would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge, even though we are clapping and we're cheering and we applaud, Wanda and Marcus still are devastated because they're missing Ahmad.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Devastated.
That's right.
And so even though this is not a celebration, it is a reflection to acknowledge that the spirit of Ahmad defeated the lynch mob. The spirit of Ahmad defeated the lynch mob. The spirit of Ahmad defeated the lynch mob. Marcus Aubrey.
Number one, I want to give all glory to God. Because that's who made all this possible. Number two, I want to thank his mama. And I want to thank my sisters and brothers. I want to thank my children for being strong through this rough time. Because I know it was hard what they had to deal with. And number two, I want to thank all y'all people for all the support y'all gave us. Because one of us did this. You know, one side did this.
That's right.
So there ain't no one side. So what I tell you, God don't work one-sided. God work two-sided. All right, I'm gonna put you here, I'm gonna put you there. Amen. So y'all pull together and work this thing. Amen. So hey, That's what it's all about.
Amen.
Because if one side wouldn't work, it wouldn't have happened.
That's right.
You had people working when you wasn't working.
That's right.
Come on. When you weren't working, you had people out here working, marching, going in these offices.
Yeah.
We conquered that lynch mob.
Yes.
We got that lynch mob. This history today, letting you know that black kid life does matter. For real, all life matters.
Yes.
Not just black children. We don't want to see nobody go through this. I don't want to see no daddy watch their kid get lynched and shot down like that.
That's right, Mom.
So it's all our problem. It's all our problem. So hey, let's keep fighting. Let's keep doing it and making this place a better place for all human beings.
Amen.
All human beings.
Amen.
Everybody.
Amen.
Love everybody.
Love everybody.
All human beings need to be treated equally.
Yeah.
We finna conquer this lynching. Today is a good day.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. Hallelujah.
Yes.
Before the lawyers come back, let me also say, as I said to all of the activists, the family, thank them. We thank a lot
Thank you.
of those that were local.
Yes.
Reverend Baker.
Oh,
He stood up,
Lord.
Right.
even when other clergy wouldn't stand.
That's right.
That pastor stood with the family.
Yes, he
The
has.
others,
Yes.
We want to thank Barbara Einwine.
Yes.
All of the ministers that came last Thursday. We want to thank Cliff. And I want to thank, if he's watching, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who, despite his illness, came down and sat in that courtroom. And all of us, this is a day white and black activists showed we could unite and beat the lynch mob that killed our men.
That's right.
And though I never say this often, I must say, we want to thank the prosecutors. Tomorrow, in all our joy today, there will be an empty chair at Wanda's table. Ahmed would not be at Thanksgiving tomorrow, but she can look at that chair and say to Ahmed, I fought a good fight. And I got you some justice. We can't fill that chair for you, Wanda, but we can say that you were mother above all mothers. You fought for your son. And Marcus, you fought for your son.
That's right.
And even though it'll be a sober and solemn Thanksgiving, you can thank God you didn't let your boy down.
So, Ben and I had a difficult task to do when showing up to this courthouse and turning the case over to the prosecutors. We want to exercise, as attorneys, as advocates, we want to exercise control over something this important.
Yes.
And it was difficult to relinquish that control to the Cobb County's prosecutor's office. Of course, we had to, under the law, and they did what they had to do to secure a conviction. I applaud them for putting on a airtight case that resulted in conviction for all these men. They've invited Wanda and Marcus and their supporters to stand with them for their press conference. And so we're going to do something else that's difficult to do. We're not taking any questions. We want to step back. We're going to allow the prosecutors to make a presentation about their case as we stand with them in solidarity and thank them for their efforts.
And it's a good example for when Lee Meredith's Texas Attorney General. Hello. Hey, y'all, please be quiet so we can give them the respect they so richly deserve.
Hello, my name is Latonia P. Hines. I am the Executive Assistant District Attorney for the Cobb County District Attorney's Office. I bring you greetings and remarks from our District Attorney, Flynn D. Brody Jr., who was appointed as District Attorney Pro Tem for this case and for the prosecution of this case. Unfortunately, he was not able to be here due to a family medical emergency. First and foremost, we want you to know that from the moment this case came to our office, it was our foremost goal to ensure that we got justice for Ahmaud Arbery's family. And in particular, we are so very proud and thankful for the confidence that the family has given to us. We admire and commend the courage, the steadfastness, and the strength of Miss Wanda Cooper Jones, Ahmaud's mother, and Mr. Marcus Arbery Sr., the father of Ahmaud, in seeking this justice during this process. It has been a long road, and we are so happy that we're able to be here at this end of this road. We'd like to also say thank you, and we commend the courage and bravery of this jury to say that what happened on February 23rd, 2020 to Ahmaud Arbery, the hunting and killing of Ahmaud Arbery, it was not only morally wrong, but legally wrong. And we are thankful for that.
Amen.
We want to thank and specifically recognize some people who have been involved with regard to the prosecution of this case. In particular, our team, our lead attorney, Senior Assistant District Attorney, Linda Dunikowski. Assistant District Attorney, Larissa Oliveira. Senior Assistant District Attorney, Paul Camarillo. Our Chief Investigator, Charles Prescott. Deputy Chief Investigator, Keith Lamone. Investigator Cameron Watson. Investigator Darius McClure. We also need to thank people from at home who've also been helping us with regard to this case. Ms. Kayla Willis, Ms. Jada Baxter, who is here, Cindy Bard, Sarah Rapp, Laramie Floyd, Matt Morgan, our communications department, our fire and EMA, IS, DOT, and GIS. We also need to thank also the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, in particular Director Vic Reynolds, Special Agent Richard Dial, who I believe is here with us, Special Agent Jason Seacrest, Special Agent Lawrence Kelly, and Inspector Eve Rogers. We also need to thank specifically with the Glen County Police Department Deputy Chief Ricky Evans and Captain Jeremiah Berquist. We also with the Glen County Sheriff's Office need to thank Glen County Sheriff Neil Jump, Glen County Clerk of Court Ron Adams, Georgia State Patrol Major Thornell King, and Sergeant Brice Black. With GMA, we also thank Operations Managers for Homeland Security Todd Keys. What we can make note of this is that Ahmaud's death has signaled significant changes in this community and in our state and in this nation. With the passing of Georgia's first ever hate crime bill and the changing of Georgia's antiquated citizens arrest law. We want to thank this community for the support that it has given to the family and to us and the community at large. And we want to have some opportunity to have some remarks also from our team. So our Senior Assistant District Attorney and Lead Attorney, Linda Dunikowski.
Thank you very much. But this was a team effort. I want everyone to know that this was a gigantic team effort. DA Flynn Brody put his faith and trust in our team, and I could not have done it without my trial partners. They were all very, very instrumental in making this happen. We had so many people on the team that helped to bring justice for Ahmaud and his family. And we really, really appreciate the support that we had and the faith from Mr. Arbery, and from Ms. Wanda Cooper Jones, who have been with us and have put their faith in us and trusted us. to bring justice for Ahmaud. And the verdict today was a verdict based on the facts.
Yes.
Based on the evidence.
Yes.
And that was our goal, was to bring that to that jury so that they could do the right thing. Because the jury system works in this country. And when you present the truth to people and they can see it, they will do the right thing. And that's what this jury did today in getting justice for Ahmaud Arbery. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Listen. Yep, you ready to go?
Hey, you know what? Let's thank Miss Polite. Hey, there's an 87-year-old lady who's been here every day. Hey, hello. Let's thank this 87-year-old lady who's been here every day. Hey, you all. Hey, where Marcus at?
Right here.
The parents, Wanda and Marcus, and the family of Ahmaud Arbery, Lee and Cliff and Reb, all of us, we've been here most days of the trial. But there's a lady who is steadfast in her conviction. She's one of those NAACP warriors, Reverend Al. Miss Polite, 87 years old, has been here every day of jury selection and every day of trial. So let's thank that. Where's she at? Okay. So let's thank that shero, Miss Polite. God bless. It's people like her while we got justice.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Nearly 3 weeks since this trial for the 3 men accused of murdering Ahmaud Arbery began, the jury reaching a verdict today around 1:36 p.m., finding all 3 men, Gregory Mcmichael, Travis McMichael, William Roddy Bryant, all guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. Roughly 11 hours of deliberation, the jury reaching that verdict today. You were just listening in to the family attorneys for Wanda Cooper Jones and Marcus Arbery, the mom and dad of Ahmaud Arbery, also the Reverend Al Sharpton. Some really moving statements made today out of that press conference. Also listening in to the prosecution team. So I'm just going to read a couple things from you if you're just joining us as to what happened in that press conference. The Reverend Al Sharpton saying that we've never had a Thanksgiving like today. Quote, also, a jury of 11 whites and 1 black stood up in the Deep South and said, Black Lives Matter. They lost their son, but their son will go down in history. And the prosecution reminding us of what that history means. We heard from one of the prosecutors, Latonia Hines, talking about the significant changes made in the state and the community when it comes to the changes in the citizens arrest law and Georgia passing its first hate crimes law in this more than a year since Ahmaud Arbery was chased and killed in Satilla Shores. Latonia Hines, the prosecutor there, saying the hunting and killing of Ahmaud Arbery not only was morally wrong, but legally wrong. The lead prosecutor, Linda Dunikowski, saying the jury did the right thing. Opening statements beginning November 5th. This case wrapping up at least the jury part here, where they have found the 3 defendants guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. Here we are, November 24th, the day before Thanksgiving. Benjamin Crump, a national civil rights attorney, calling it not a celebration, but that the spirit of Ahmaud defeated the lynch mob. We have not heard from the defendants' attorneys just yet. But when that happens, we will bring it to you. If that happens, we'll bring it to you. In the meantime, I want to turn it over to Joe Hankey, who is in our other studio with criminal defense attorney Daryl Cohen, to weigh in on this case and also the jury's verdict. Joe?
Joining us here, former prosecutor, now defense attorney. You've been on both sides of the courtroom here. One distinction being made between the defendants already is the Malice murder charge. Everyone is found guilty of murder here, but only Travis McMichael found guilty of Malice murder. We're waiting to hear when sentencing will take place, but does that sort of differentiate their cases moving forward here of how they're handled now?
No, I think he was found guilty of Malice murder because he pulled the trigger. He had the weapon. He had the gun. But as far as changing the time or distinguishing between when the sentences will come down, I don't think that's going to make a difference. I think a judge is going to sentence them all at or about the same time.
Sentence them all together, but does it change anything in their sentencing as far as under Georgia law, their eligibility for parole or the sentences they receive?
Major, or maybe not. With Malice murder, you are not eligible for parole, period. End of discussion. So unless it's reversed on appeal, and I don't see that happening, then he is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. Whereas the other two defendants, where they were convicted of felony murder, they're eligible for parole in about 7 years. Will they make parole? The average person who is incarcerated, who makes parole, spends somewhere between 25 and 26 years in prison. So it may not make a difference, but at least they have some shot of being released at some point in their life.
There was a lot in the buildup to this case of race and the role it will play. When this actually got to a courtroom, we saw very little discussed of race in this case. Of course, there was mentioning 11 white jurors, 1 black juror. The prosecution really didn't bring race into the courtroom, but now there's federal hate crime charges. That case is still pending. Do federal prosecutors, bring this conviction into the courtroom? Do they have to present a much different case because of the hate crime charges?
Well, I think the hate crime charges federally are done as a backup in case one or more of these defendants were acquitted. I think that they have those hate charges crimes to prosecute later. But because it has already been adjudicated, because the 3 of them have been convicted, I wouldn't be surprised if the Fed said, you know what, we're not going to prosecute them. Because the reality is, how much more time can they get? You can't get more time than you're alive. But they may do it because they think it's appropriate, and they're trying to send a message to the rest of this country, you can't do what these 3 people did.
What, as a former prosecutor, were you surprised that they were able to get murder convictions on all 3? The state, when they presented their case, almost presented 3 cases in one. You had Travis McMichael, the gunman who pulled the trigger. You had Greg Mcmichael, who you could say instigated the situation from notifying Travis, hey, get your gun. This guy's running. And then you had Roddy Bryant, the guy who was in his truck. State said that was a weapon by itself, but he's on the cell phone recording video of this. You sort of have 3 distinct roles there. Are you surprised they got murder on all 3 of them? And
I'm a little surprised that they got murder on Roddy Bryant. I think that he had a viable defense for the murder charge. And had he had a different type of defense, perhaps it would have worked. But you never know. It's the old story. If you win, you're the greatest there ever was. If you lose, you're the worst. I think he could have easily been acquitted of that charge, not of the other charges.
And any other cases come to mind in Georgia here of, even before this went to a courtroom, we saw it impact the state's citizens arrest law. Citizens arrest was a cornerstone or the crux of the defense's argument here. And that law was changed, overhauled in the state of Georgia before the conviction even happened, before it entered a courtroom. Have you ever seen a case like that before in Georgia?
Well, Joe, it's not a citizen's arrest if the person who was to be arrested wasn't committing a felony in the presence of these people. And even if Ahmaud Arbery had committed a crime of criminal trespass, that's not citizen's arrest. So that was arguable, but not real. And I think there's a very big difference between what you try to tell a jury and what a jury believes. And this jury cut through it. They cut through everything. They focused very carefully on what happened in the courtroom. And I think the video was extraordinarily important.
And it seems like the jury went along with that thought process. That's what the state said in their closing arguments, that these defendants did not see a crime in action. They had no evidence of it. You can't make a citizen's arrest. That the state law at that time for citizen's arrest would not allow for that. And it seems like the jury followed along with that. Last question here. Does any analysis, your thoughts on the defense, the case they presented, the state, the case they presented, any problems that you had with anything that they presented? Sort of what's your analysis of it?
Well, again, because they lost, they were wrong. I think they could have changed the way they defended these people. Frankly, I would have tried to have a plea deal worked out in advance of this trial, because there were only 2 things that could have happened. Either A a conviction on almost or all of the counts, or B, a not guilty. Not guilty was very unlikely, even though the narrative from the rest of this country was we're the South and it's redneck and it's racist. Well, this jury ignored everything. This jury ignored everything they should have ignored, and they focused on the evidence and the lack of evidence, and I think they focused mostly on the video, which said it all.
Perfect. Daryl, appreciate your time. As always, Daryl Cohen, former prosecutor, now defense attorney. Sheba, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Joe and Daryl, thank you so much. We just got a statement in from President Joe Biden on the verdict in the trial here. The three men found guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. This coming in just about 2:43, so just minutes ago. Here's the statement. It is long. Here's a part of it. Ahmaud Arbery's killing, witnessed by the world on video, is a devastating reminder of how far we have to go in the fight for racial justice in this country. Mr. Arbery should be here today celebrating the holidays with his mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, and his father, Marcus Arbery. Nothing can bring Mr. Arbery back to his family and to his community, but the verdict ensures that those who committed this horrible crime will be punished. A number of folks outside the courthouse today, Wanda Cooper Jones and also Marcus Arbery, standing with their attorneys and the Reverend Al Sharpton today. I just want to read a few things that Wanda shared with the public today. She, from the very start, from when her son was murdered last February, was pushing for justice for her son, and she never gave up. This is what she said. It has been a long fight. It has been a hard fight, but God is good. She never saw this day in 2020. And said that Ahmaud Arbery, her son, he will now rest in peace. Killed at the age of 25 last February. Dawn White is outside the courthouse in Glen County. She spoke with Ahmaud's aunt over the last couple weeks here. What's the latest today, Dawn?
Who shut it down? 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 Who shut it down?
Can you hear me? Are you still there? All right, I'm assuming that this is Dawn's camera that we're watching here as we're watching the community on the streets of Brunswick, right outside the courthouse. They've now taken to the streets. They're marching through the streets after hearing from the attorneys and also Ahmaud Arbery's family. We've heard a lot of chants today. People are just joyous over this verdict. So let's listen in for a moment. We're going to try to see if we can get Dawn White back. Dawn, if you can hear me, pick it up from here.
They're coming. Hold on. Hold it. Come on, man. Everybody catch up. Justice for Ahmaud. 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 Justice for Ahmaud.
Justice for Ahmaud chant we've been hearing all morning long, all year long. As we watch the community march through the streets here of Brunswick, Georgia, and before we close out our coverage, just wanted to go back to the charges that all three men had been facing and what they have been convicted of by this jury. All right, we are going to start with Travis McMichael, and he has been found guilty on all 9 counts, including malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, criminal attempt to commit a felony. Travis McMichael is a former member of the Coast Guard. He is the son of Gregory McMichael, and he is the one who shot Ahmaud Arbery on that neighborhood street in Satilla Shores last February, shot him with his shotgun. Let's listen into the verdict.
Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 7, Aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant Travis McMichael guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant Travis McMichael guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant Travis McMichael guilty. Dated this 24th day of November, 2021.
17 months after being indicted by a grand jury, Travis McMichael found guilty on all counts. Let's turn to Gregory Mcmichael, the father of Travis McMichael. He was the one who had been chasing Arbery as well. He was standing in the bed of that pickup truck with a gun in his hand, part of the chase, part of the killing. So in this case, Gregory Mcmichael has been found guilty on all of the charges except for malice murder. Our attorneys, we've had a couple of them weigh in here saying that they're not surprised this went down the way it did because Travis is the one who pulled the trigger. Gregory did not. All of the men are facing 30 years in prison at least. They must serve 30 years before becoming eligible for parole. The malice charge, not eligible for parole, according to our criminal defense attorney who just weighed in, Daryl Cohen. So let's listen in to the court on this one.
Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant Greg McMichael not guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant Greg McMichael guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant Greg McMichael guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant Greg McMichael guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant Greg McMichael guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant Greg McMichael guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant Greg McMichael guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant Greg McMichael guilty.
All right, we just got this statement in from Governor Bryant here. Ahmaud Arbery was the victim of a vigilantism that has no place in Georgia. As legal efforts continue to hold accountable all who may be responsible, we hope the Arbery family, the Brunswick community, our state, and those around the nation who have been following the case can now move forward down a path of healing and reconciliation. The statements are continuing to flow in here as we just about more than an hour ago learned about the jury finding all three of these men guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. This is video right outside the Glen County Courthouse, right after the verdict was read. You can see everyone tuned into their phones, huddled together. Black Lives Matter flag, just one of many flags in the crowd there. It's hard to make out what's happening in the middle here, but my producers tell me this is what was happening as the verdict was being read inside the courthouse. This verdict's coming down right around 1:36 p.m. with a guilty verdict for all three defendants. And this right here is video, I believe, is a live view right by the Ahmaud Arbery mural there. The crowd still celebrating. I mean, this is the day before Thanksgiving, and there has been a lot to celebrate. It's been a long road, a long journey. A mother fighting for justice for her son. We have seen that. And now today, the day before Thanksgiving, she will be looking at that chair, as the Reverend Al Sharpton had said. Her son will not be there, but she knows that her son has made history, that he's made change, and that this jury in Brunswick, Georgia, for her, for the country, did the right thing. She said to everyone in the crowd today that it has been a long fight, and there was a time when there was no national media that knew about this case until that video came to the service in May of last year, months after he was chased and gunned down on that neighborhood road in Satilla Shores, Georgia. No one knew about this case at all. And when you look at Twitter today, that's what everyone is pointing to. Thank goodness for that video, because no one would have seen what happened to Ahmaud Arbery last February. And today we have a guilty verdict for all three men, Gregory Mcmichael, Travis McMichael, William Roddy Bryant, all guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery. I want to thank you so much for joining us here for our special coverage. Please look for more on our website, 11alive.com, and our newscast starting at 5 p.m. Have a good one.
I want to thank you guys.
First verdict form I have is the state of Georgia versus Travis McMichael. Mr.
Hold
McMichael,
on.
please stand. Verdict is as follows. In the Superior Court of Glen County, state of Georgia, the state of Georgia versus Travis McMichael, case number CR 000433.
Okay, family, I stopped that because I want to say a few words.
Malice murder.
Hold on one second. If you want to see that, you can watch it at the top of the broadcast. I am not live because I'm in my bonnet, in my workout clothes, in here working it all the way out for what's going to be an even greater day of giving thanks dinner tomorrow. This here is epic, family. I want you to understand how long it took for us to get to this place. And just to speak on my heart about what the commentator just said at the end about one of the tweets, that if this were not caught on film, if this were not caught on tape, do you see, family, what it takes for freedmen to get justice in America, in a country that our ancestors built with their lives? Forgive the background noise. Yes, the dishwasher's going. It's a lot going on as I prepare an amazing dinner tomorrow in which I'm hosting a few people at my house. But anyway, I digress. Do you see what it takes just to get guilty from these white supremacists, these KKK, that are in the police force, that are in the government, that have been murdering us since they dragged us here, since Africa sold us into slavery, and we were dragged here in chains? Do you see what it takes to get justice in this country for freedmen? Because let me help you understand. When it comes to these immigrants, their blues is nothing like ours, and they are often complicit in our oppression in this country. Many of them speak out against us. Many of them speak out against reparations. Many of them are seeking to replace us. Many of them are seeking to replace us as our white oppressors. Forgive the noise. I'm trying to get out of the kitchen so I can speak to you before I close this broadcast out. But yes, family, you have to understand that right now, the Democrats and the Republicans are colluding to neutralize our vote because we're waking up, family. And the world simply cannot stand for this government on every level trying to deny critical race history. Critical race history. They're trying to take down all the monuments of their evil. Don't be deceived, okay? All of this taking down of monuments and statues and all this symbolism is exactly what it is, which is why we continue in the reparationist fight, which is why I talk out against the weaponization of immigration that the Democrats and the Republicans alike are flooding this country with. You can call me what you want, but my eyes are wide open, especially given that Dr. Claude Anderson has been screaming this from the mountaintops for about 30 years now, and folks refuse to listen to him and do anything about it. You see, they want to silence you, so they call you names when you stand up for freedmen, when you stand up and demand our social justice and economic inclusion. They want you to retreat. They don't want you to talk about it. They want you to silently sit next to your neighbor in the gas chamber and allow the annihilation and the extinction of freedmen in this country without paying the reparations that are owed in the quadrillions over multi-generations. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Family, wake up. And so today, to have a predominantly white jury in the deep South Georgia render this verdict, look at what it took. Look at what it took to get justice. Look at what it took to tell the nation and the world that Black lives indeed matter. Look at what it took. So imagine if this wasn't on tape. Imagine all of the murders by these racists, okay? The cops with 3 Ks and the people alike all over the country that have gotten away with murder because there wasn't a tape. Just imagine that. And get involved. Because let me help you understand something, family. Your replacement is happening. Whether you want to admit it or not, whether you want to veg out on senseless, mindless rap music that's in the toilet, that's taking our children down, whether or not you want to get all wrapped up into the LGBTQIXYZ agenda that is coming for us specifically, putting men in dresses and the like, and putting that out as a presence of Black men, which is why I was in love with the movie that just came out, King Richard. Now, he's got his issues, okay? He's got his issues. Had a whole nother family he neglected. But that's for another show. I'm not doing that one right now. I'm staying on this. I'm just telling you that this country's plans on both sides of the aisle is to neutralize the Black man, which is to neutralize the Black seed, which is to neutralize the expansion of the freedman lineage. Because we have gone from 4 million post-emancipation to 40 million strong in this country. We are still holding the number 2 spot in the country in terms of population. Yes, we are. And they are working quick, fast, and in a hurry. Right now, New York is on the brink, on the precipice of giving 800,000 illegal immigrants the right to vote. Yes, they are. And so when I tell you we got to show up in 2022 and get them Mickey Thickies up out that Congress until 2024, I mean what I'm telling you. Biden is flooding the country with immigrants while giving protections to Asians, whom less than 1% of them are guilty of the heinous crimes and murders leveled at the heads of freedmen. He just gave Native Americans protections, but he refuses to sign the anti-lynch bill, and they had totally neglected and ignored the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. That's what they've done. You don't hear no more about that. If we didn't keep our thumb and our foot on the necks of the government, we still wouldn't be talking about HR 40. But they playing with it, y'all. I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. They're going to pretend to do something with HR 40 going into 2022 to make you sheep walk to the polls to vote their lame asses back into office. You got to look at this with your third eye and not be tricked like 87% of our electorate was tricked into unseating an overt racist Trump with a very overt, covert racist named Biden. He and Kabami told us from the door they weren't doing a thing for our people. And 87% of our electorate felt Trump was a greater threat when he was building a border wall to keep this nonsense out of here. And so now what you've got is a very smart Latina voting base that will vote blue until they earn around 50,000, then they go and vote red. So do know these immigrants are our new white oppressors. They need to cultivate more whiteness in this country. You don't get into this country unless you hate freedmen, but you'll pretend for just a little while as long as you're as poor as freedmen, who are now, since the pandemic, $30,000 median national income to a damn near $400,000 median national home price. That's what's going on with freedmen whose ancestors built this country with 3 Ks with their lives. And we need to wake up and smell the collard greens and the turkey and the candy yams. We need to wake all the way up and understand what it took to get to this day. And know that we've got so many more fights in front of us because we still don't have an executive order to stop this bullshiggity. I can promise you, if it wasn't for that racist ass who taped it, okay, this would not be the outcome. Like many of our fallen by the hands of the KKK, who, oh, by the way, have yet to be named domestic terrorists that they are. Why is that? Because they're in the government right now, and they're on the police force. The FBI already told us that from a 2006 report, that they're all over the country in the police force. And so what do? They flood the country with immigrants that hate us just like them. We have no friends. And if we did, they'd be on the front lines with us fighting for our economic inclusion. So we've got the highest rates of unemployment, the highest rates of underemployment. We're redlined into environmentally racist communities and tenement housing. We're miseducated. We've got the preschool to prison pipeline. We've got over 2 million Black men on lockdown, half of which are there for nonviolent offenses on the very drugs that the very weed the states now turn a profit on. This is freedman life, not Africans, not immigrant Africans, not immigrant Caribbeans. Okay, not Black immigrants. This is freedman life, which is why they don't want to disaggregate the data. We're fighting for the data to get disaggregated so the failures of this country, when it comes to freedmen, can be seen all over the world. Last report we shared in 3 trillion, 2.3 trillion is being shared by 10% of the Blacks in this country. 90% of the Blacks in this country share less than 700 billion. We are that 90% family. Okay? So please understand that we need all hands on deck because we need protections and we need our reparations in the quadrillions over multi-generations. So we don't continue to have Ahmaud Arbery's. We won't continue to have the Sandra Bland's. Okay? The George Floyd's, the Tamir Rice, the Trayvon Martin. I could go on and freaking on. But I'm going to digress. I'm going to do my best to de-stress and decompress. But I had to come to you with a few words about how monumental this day is. Oh, Biden and Kabami don't give a damn about freedmen lives. But God showed up and out through the very folks whose foot are on our necks. That law was used brilliantly by the prosecution because God says freedmen lives matter all day, every day. And so it was the God in those people that rose up to render that verdict. You know, that image likeness in which we're all made before we were flesh. Well, it was awakened in them when they went in there to render a verdict. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Do you understand what I'm telling you? God lined it up lovely to deliver us a glorious day of giving thanks for us to remember Ahmaud Arbery and all of our fallen, beautiful, brilliant Blackness by the hands of these white racist glacier donkeys in this country. So give thanks, family. Focus on the victory. Yes, there's a lot more work to do, but can we put it down for a minute? Can we put the fight down for a minute to celebrate this victory? That's what we need to do. Let's not go into all of what should have happened. Let's focus on this victory. We need a break. I know I need a break. So I know you need a break. Take care of your mental family. Some people were reporting in my feed that they did not watch the trial. Neither did I. After Mr. George Floyd, I couldn't. And then to hear some of the racist outtakes in the YouTube media, because I don't watch the lamestream corporate-owned, government-owned media. I don't fool with the Clinton News Network, the Coon News Network, the Crying News Network. I don't fool with that. I take the news and I freedom-fy it, okay? I freedom-fy it. I tell you what it is through the lens of freedmen, which I am proud to be a freed woman. And I'm determined to make sure my daughter stays free and my lineage stays free. That's why I'm on this battlefield in the front lines with my comrades. Shout out to each of you that's picking up bricks tirelessly in the shadows. Nobody knows who you are, but I see you. And I know you personally because I'm working with you in the trenches. When you don't see me live, I'm in the trenches. I'm in the trenches getting stuff done. You'll see. You're hearing about it. Every time you hear them talk about HR 40, that's us. So we ain't got time really to be on ScrewTube and Facebook too much. We're in the trenches making things happen against all odds in a government that hates us as much as the people that they deputize. Don't believe the hype. It's all a facade. What's up, Shauna Kim? I see you, fam. I see 3 racially aggravated. I see you. Tina, I saw you, dear. And I see Dark Matter over here. I want to thank y'all for a hearty exchange in the chat. Tanae, Tansy. I got to tell all my people that's over here keeping it lit. Kelly Pryor, I see you, fam. Michael Brown, Trey Lincoln. GOJ, I don't know who that is, but I see you, fam. Darlene Krumade, I see you, fam. All right, now, I just went on my rant. When you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Y'all saw what happened with Kyle Rittencracker. Y'all saw what happened with that, right? That was just a test, family. You better get your A2 game up. You better. I'm warning you. Because with that cracker walking the way he did, after they sprayed Tamir Rice, 2 seconds upon arriving on the scene without a question, and this white boy walked for murdering OJs who have not come out and said a damn thing about how anti-Semitic that is. Y'all get ready. See, what they wanted to do, the bigger picture, because he wasn't there to defend. All type of evidence points to the fact that he came there to murder. The bigger picture is they're going to come out and threaten us every time we march for our lives to matter in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Couple of sacrifices, but that's the intent. So don't sleep on the intent, family. Look at things through your third eye. That Mickey Vicky, that judge was off the charts and off the chain. To be sitting up there and basically helping defense. That's what he did. He helped to get this boy off like he was his son. And look at the last name. This judge is related to Ricky Schroeder, who poured hundreds of thousands into Kyle's bail. Y'all need to put things together instead of being out here defending this boy like he was out there and did what he did in self-defense. Nope. Don't believe the hype. Him walking gives these white supremacists a license to do this at every Black Lives Matter protest. So when you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Y'all better take the militia out there when you go. I'm not going to be out there putting my life on the line with these crazy asses. No, because not enough of them are being convicted of murdering us with immunity. All of them have immunity as long as you won't deem their hate groups, the Proud Boys and all this nonsense. If you aren't deeming them domestic terrorists in the way that you deem freedmen who speak up for social justice and economic inclusion, Black identity, Black identity extremists. If you can't label this domestic terrorist, I'm not going to be out there risking my life, and I'm not taking my child out there to risk hers. Because this government is not protecting even their own. That's what you saw with Rittencracker walking. They won't even come to the defense of their own. They allow these seats to be taken over by the KKK because that's how the judge was behaving. Straight up like the KKK. And I'm cool on that lame ass prosecution in the written cracker case too. How in the world you gonna put a man on the stand who says he wouldn't have shot me had I not, raised my gun to him? How you gonna allow and not challenge the fact that this racist ass judge allowed that boy to choose his own damn jury? How you not gonna rip that Mickey Ficky to shreds when you get him on the stand? Lame asses all the way around. I feel like they're all colluding, like prosecution and the defense and the judges often do in the courts concerning Black lives, because this is the bigger issue here, family. His ass, and why wasn't his mama tried? You see, she drove him across county lines. He illegally had this AR-15, and then the racist ass judge drops the gun charge. You see how it works? He had no business there. Business owners said they didn't hire his ass to come over there and protect their businesses. But this is how it works when you want to set the stage to enable these KKK Proud Boys, whatever the hell they are. This is what happens. You're enabling them when you let that boy go home. After raising $2 million in bail. And now they want to paint his ass out to be a hero. Y'all better wake up and smell the coffee, smell the sweet potato pie. Y'all better wake up and smell the pecan pie. Wake up and smell the turkey and the stuffing. Wake up and smell the mac and cheese and the collard greens. Sauteed cabbage. Y'all better smell that pineapple upside down cake. I think I'm running down my menu to make sure I don't forget nothing, leave nothing out. Y'all better smell the deviled eggs. They gonna be seafood deviled eggs over here. Oyster stuffing. Okay? Y'all better smell it. Seriously though, family, I cracked myself up. But yes, y'all got to wake up and stop delivering this. I'm telling y'all right now, you got to play chess with your vote, because that's what all the other groups are getting their demands met, because they play chess with their vote. They're totally unpredictable. That's why Biden is trying to they're trying to give these Mickey Ficky illegals. You break the law, but you in this country illegally. They're trying to give them $450,000 a piece because they're trying to buy the vote, family. They're trying to buy the allegiance of the immigrants who they're flooding the country with. Yep, that vote is on sale for $450K per illegal. They get to break the law, illegally enter the country and get to become millionaires, because this is what the Democrats decide they need to win. That's why they gave $6.2 billion to the Afghan refugees, you see. $30 million to the AAPI plus protections. No, it was $300 million to the AAPI plus protections, $31 million to the Native Americans, $31 million more dollars, family. They've been getting paid since 1866. But they're not giving a dime of that to Black freedmen of Cherokee and Seminole Indian descent. They don't see a dime of that. They are working to extinct us, family, and it is our job to lead in. We can't give in, up, or out, despite the overarching plans of both parties. Shut that bitch down. That's what you got to do. You got to shut it down in 2022. If there's a blue top, give them a red Congress. It ain't personal. You ain't getting shite anyway from the Democrats. It don't matter who's in there now, does it? No. And in 2024, you got to give them a blue top, a red top in 24 and a blue Congress. Until they cut the checks in the quadrillions over multi-generations, and until we can replace the lanes with full-chested cash reparationists like Tamara Johnson Shealy in Georgia, like Marcel in South Carolina, working to unseat Coon Clyburn. Okay? Because they respond to pressure, not applause. Lock it down while we still got time, family. And with that being said, family, I want y'all to have a beautiful, blessed day of giving thanks tomorrow. Be safe, love one another, take a reprieve from the politics. I'm going to do my best. So much to do, so little time. I'm going to do my best to just focus on having a good time. Know that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and that the presence of God watches over us. Wherever Freedmen and its allies are, God truly is, because family, you are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Know that I love you, Black. Know that I love you, uber strong. Yes, I do. Stay tuned for the outro, family. It's been real. It's been rich. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications, family. Love y'all.